Lee? Daeho opened his eyes slowly. His head hurt badly, and the bright white lights made him close them again. The air smelled strange, like metal and chemicals mixed together. He tried to move his hands, but they were tied behind his back with something that felt cold and hard. Where was he? The last thing he remembered was his ship being attacked by alien vessels. The UES Resilience had been on a routine patrol mission near the edge of human space when everything went wrong. The enemy. Ships appeared from nowhere, faster and stronger than anything humans had ever built. Daeho forced himself to open his eyes again. The room was small and white, with walls that seemed to glow with their own light. There were no windows, just smooth surfaces everywhere. A blue energy field blocked the only doorway he could see. This was definitely not a human ship. He was 35 years old and had been a soldier for most of his adult life. Before joining the Space Navy, he had been in Special Forces on Earth. His job now was planning battles and thinking about strategy, but none of his training had prepared him for being captured by aliens. A sound made him look up. 3 tall figures walked into the room through the energy field. They looked like humans in some ways, but their skin was gray and their eyes were much larger. They wore dark uniforms with strange symbols on them. "The human is awake," said the one in front. Its voice was deep and sounded like it was talking through water. "I am Commander Velthara of the Vorthak Empire. You are now our prisoner." Daeho said nothing. He had been taught that the first rule of being captured was to watch and listen. Learn everything you can about your enemies. "Your primitive ship was easy to destroy," Velthara continued. "Your crew is dead. You are the only survivor, and only because we chose to keep you alive." The words hit Daeho hard. His crew had been good people. Kim Minho, the young pilot who always talked about his girlfriend back on Earth. Park Hae-jin, the engineer who could fix anything. They were all gone now. But Daeho did not let his feelings show on his face. Instead, he looked around the room again, memorizing every detail. The aliens thought they had captured just another human soldier. They had no idea who he really was. "What do you want with me?" Daeho asked in a quiet voice. Velthara made a sound that might have been laughter. "We want information about your planet's defenses, about your military, about how many ships you have and where they are located." "I won't tell you anything," Daeho said. "You will," Velthara replied. "Humans are weak creatures. We have studied your species. You break easily under pressure." The 3 aliens left the room, and Daeho was alone again. He waited a few minutes to make sure they were really gone, then began to work. The first thing he did was test the restraints on his hands. They were made of some kind of energy field, not metal chains. When he touched them, they gave him a small electric shock, but the shock was not strong enough to really hurt him. Next, he looked at his clothes. The aliens had taken his weapons and his communication equipment, but they had left him wearing his uniform. More importantly, they had left his watch. It looked like a simple timepiece, the kind soldiers wore to keep track of schedules. But Daeho's watch was not simple at all. It was a military device disguised to look ordinary. Inside its small case were communication systems, a computer, and other tools that could help him. The aliens had looked at it and decided it was too primitive to be dangerous. They were wrong. Daeho pressed a hidden button on the side of the watch. The face lit up with symbols that only he could understand. The device was working perfectly. It was already scanning the alien ship, looking for ways to connect to their computer systems. Over the next few hours, more aliens came to visit him. They asked him questions about Earth and its defenses. Daeho answered some of them, but all. His answers were lies or information that would not help the aliens. He told them that Earth had only a few dozen ships, when really there were hundreds. He said that human weapons were weak, when some of them were quite powerful. The aliens believed everything he told them. They thought humans were stupid and primitive. This was exactly what Daeho wanted them to think. While he talked to his captors, his watch was working in the background. It was listening to their conversations and recording everything. It was also trying to break into their computer systems, looking for weak spots. One of the aliens, a science officer called Kexdran, was especially arrogant. He showed Daeho around the ship, explaining how superior alien technology was compared to human machines. "Your people still use chemical rockets," Kexdran said with obvious contempt. We have quantum displacement drives that can move us faster than light itself. Your weapons are barely more advanced than throwing rocks, another alien added. Our plasma cannons can destroy entire cities with a single shot. Daeho nodded and acted impressed. Inside, he was memorizing every detail of what they showed him. The layout of the ship, the location of important systems, the way their technology worked. His watch recorded it all. Late at night, when the aliens thought he was sleeping, Daeho began the real work. His watch had found a way into their computer network through what the aliens thought was just a simple maintenance port. The device could access their systems without being detected. What Daeho learned made his blood run cold. This was not just a single alien ship. It was part of a huge fleet, bigger than anything humans had ever imagined. And they were not just exploring or looking for new planets to colonize. They were planning to invade Earth. The attack would come in 3 days. Hundreds of alien ships would arrive at Earth all at once. The aliens were confident that humans would surrender quickly when they saw how outmatched they were. But the aliens had made one critical mistake. They thought they had captured a regular soldier who knew nothing important. They had no idea that Daeho was one of Earth's best strategic planners. And they definitely did not know that his simple-looking watch was sending all their secrets back to Earth. As he pretended to sleep in his cell, Daeho allowed himself a small smile. The aliens thought they had a prisoner. What they really had was a human with a plan, and that plan was just beginning. The next morning, Commander Velthara came back with more questions. Daeho had spent the night preparing for this moment. He knew exactly what he needed to do. "Today you will tell us about Earth's military bases," Velthara announced. "We know. Humans have weapons hidden on your moon and on other planets. Where are they?" Daeho looked scared and nervous. It was all an act, but the aliens could not tell the difference. I don't know much about that," he said in a shaking voice. "I was just a low-level officer. They don't tell people like me about secret bases." This was completely false. As a strategic planning officer, Daeho knew the location of every human military installation in the solar system, but he was not going to tell the aliens that. "You must know something," Velthara insisted. "Think carefully. Your life depends on giving us useful information." Daeho pretended to think hard, then gave them the locations of 3 bases. But these were old bases that had been abandoned years ago. The aliens would find nothing there except empty buildings. Velthara seemed satisfied. "Good. You see how much easier this is when you cooperate?" After the commander left, Kekstran returned with more questions about human technology. The science officer was very proud of alien achievements and loved to show off. "Look at this," Kekstran said, pointing to a panel on the wall. "This is a quantum displacement drive control. It can move our ship across the galaxy in minutes. Your primitive rockets would take thousands of years to travel the same distance." Daeho stared at the panel with wide eyes, acting amazed. "How does it work?" he asked. Kekstran laughed. "A human brain could never understand something so complex, but I will try to explain it in simple terms." For the next hour, the alien scientist explained their technology in great detail. He talked about quantum fields and dimensional folding and energy manipulation. He thought he was impressing a primitive human with superior alien knowledge. What he was really doing was giving Daeho exactly the information he needed. Daeho's watch recorded every word. It analyzed the technical specifications and sent them back to Earth through its hidden communications system. Human scientists would now be able to study alien technology and look for weaknesses. "Your people will never be able to build anything like this," Kekstran concluded. "Even if we gave you the plans, your primitive manufacturing could not create such precision components." "You're probably right," Daeho agreed sadly. "Humans aren't very smart compared to your people." The alien nodded, pleased with this admission of human inferiority. Meanwhile, far away on Earth, Kim Tae-young was working the night shift at Orbital Defense Command. He had served with Daeho in the Special Forces years ago, before they both joined the Space Navy. When a strange signal appeared on his monitoring equipment, he recognized it immediately. The signal was very weak and seemed to be coming from deep space. To most people, it would look like random static. But Kim knew better. Hidden in the noise was a quantum entanglement beacon. a device that could send messages faster than light. The message was encoded, but Kim had the right codes. When he decoded it, he found detailed technical information about alien ships and weapons. There were also reports about alien military strength and attack plans. At the bottom of the message was a single line: "Package received. Delivery in progress." Kim smiled. Dae-ho was alive, and he was working to help Earth defend itself. Kim immediately sent the information to Admiral Han So-young, the commander of Earth's defense forces. Within hours, human scientists and military planners were studying every detail. Back on the alien ship, Dae-ho continued to play his role as a frightened prisoner. When the aliens asked him about Earth's population, he told them there were only 2 billion humans. The real number was over 12 billion. When they asked about human ships, he said Earth had maybe 50 vessels capable of space combat. The truth was closer to 800. When they asked about human weapons, he described primitive missiles and laser cannons. He did not mention the new plasma torpedoes or the experimental antimatter bombs. The aliens believed every lie he told them. They were so convinced of their own superiority that they could not imagine a primitive human being smart enough to deceive them. But Dae-ho learned something new and terrifying. This fleet was not the only one. The aliens had 12 other fleets, scattered across the galaxy, each one conquering planets and enslaving alien races. Earth was just their next target. Worse, the invasion was now only 2 days away. Hundreds of alien ships would attack Earth's defenses all at once. The aliens expected the battle to be over in a few hours. That night, Dae-ho used his watch to send another message to Earth. This one contained the locations of all 12 alien fleets and detailed information about their battle plans. He also discovered something interesting about the alien ship's computer systems. Everything was controlled by a central artificial intelligence. The aliens trusted this AI completely and never questioned its decisions. This gave Dae-ho an idea. If he could find a way to affect that central AI, he might be able to turn the aliens' own technology against them. His watch began working on the problem immediately. It started mapping the alien computer network, looking for ways to get inside their systems without being detected. The next day brought more interrogations. Commander Velthara was getting impatient for results. "Your information has been useful," she told Dae-ho. "But we need more. Tell us about your planet's shield generators. We know Earth has some kind of defensive barrier." This was true. Earth did have a planetary shield system, powered by fusion reactors hidden on the moon. But Dae-ho was not going to tell the aliens how to find or destroy it. "I think there might be something like that," he said uncertainly. "But I never worked on defense systems. Maybe they're controlled from the moon?" He gave them the wrong coordinates and incorrect technical specifications. If the aliens attacked where he told them to, they would find empty craters instead of shield generators. Velthara seemed pleased with this information. "Excellent. When we destroy your shields, your planet will be completely helpless." After she left, Dae-ho allowed himself a moment of hope. His plan was working. The aliens were walking into traps that he was helping to set. But he knew the real test was still coming. Tomorrow, the invasion would begin. And Dae-ho would find out if his messages had given Earth enough warning to prepare a defense. He touched his watch gently. The small device had already done so much. But its most important job was still ahead. On his third day as a prisoner, Dae-ho met a different kind of alien. Zekmol was a guard, younger than the others, and not as hostile toward humans. While the officers treated Dae-ho like a dangerous animal, Zekmol seemed genuinely curious about human culture. "Is it true that humans keep other animals as companions?" Zekmol asked during his shift. "The science reports say your people form emotional bonds with creatures called dogs and cats." Dae-ho nodded. "Yes, we do. I had a dog when I was young. His name was Buddy." "Fascinating," Zekmol said. "Vorthak finds such behavior illogical. Why waste resources on useless creatures?" "They're not useless," Dae-ho replied. "They give us friendship and loyalty. They make us happy." Zekmol seemed to think about this. "Your species is very strange, but perhaps not as primitive as the commanders believe." This was exactly what Dae-ho wanted to hear. Over the next few hours, he carefully built a friendship with the young guard. He told stories about Earth and asked questions about Vorthak society. Zekmol began to see him as more than just a prisoner. When the guard rotation changed, Deho pretended to have trouble with the energy restraints on his hands. "They're hurting me," he told Zekmol. "Could you adjust them? Just a little?" Zekmol looked around to make sure no officers were watching, then modified the restraint settings. The energy field became looser, giving Deho more freedom to move his hands. "Thank you," Deho said gratefully. "You're kinder than the others." What Zekmol did not know was that loosening the restraints gave Deho access to more wall panels in his cell. His watch could now reach several maintenance ports that had been out of range before. That night, while the ship was quiet, Deho's watch began its most important mission yet. It had been studying the alien computer network for days, mapping connections and learning how their systems worked. Now it was ready to take the next step. The watch extended a thin fiber optic cable, thinner than a human hair, and connected it to a maintenance port. To any alien who might notice, it would look like a simple power cable for the cell's lighting system. But the cable was actually a pathway into the ship's main computer network. Deho's watch contained some of the most advanced human technology ever created. It had artificial intelligence programs, quantum processors, and hacking tools that could break through almost any security system. The aliens had looked at it and seen nothing but a primitive timepiece. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The watch began uploading a special program into the alien network. This program was called a logic virus, designed by Earth's best computer scientists. Unlike regular viruses that destroyed data, this one was much more subtle. It hid in the background, copying information and sending it back to Earth while appearing to be a normal part of the system. Back on Earth, things were moving quickly. Admiral Han So-young had received all of Deho's intelligence reports and was using them to prepare humanity's defense. "The alien fleet will arrive in 36 hours, she told her staff officers. "We now know exactly where they plan to attack and what weapons they'll use. Thanks to our man on the inside, we have advantages they don't know about." Dr. Choi Min-soo, Earth's leading expert on artificial intelligence, was studying the technical data that Deho had sent. "Their entire fleet is controlled by networked AI systems," he reported. "If we can find a way to disrupt those networks, we can turn their own technology against them." "Is that possible?" Admiral Han asked. "It might be," Dr. Choi replied. "But we need more information about how their systems work." On Luna Base, Lieutenant Park Ji-hoon was coordinating with Earth's defensive fleets. The moon base controlled powerful weapons and shield generators that protected Earth from attack. But the alien fleet was much larger than anything humans had ever faced. "We have 400 ships ready for battle," Park reported. "But intelligence says the aliens have over 1,000 vessels. Even with our advantages, this will be a difficult fight." Admiral Han nodded grimly. "Then we had better make sure every advantage counts." Meanwhile, on the alien flagship, Deho was making his next move. During his morning interrogation, he asked Commander Velthara a seemingly innocent question. "Your ship is very large," he said. "How do you control so many systems? Do you have a big crew?" Velthara laughed. "Humans need hundreds of crew members for a single ship because your minds are too limited. We use artificial intelligence to control everything. One AI can do the work of 1,000 human crew members." "That sounds very efficient," Deho said, admiringly. "The AI must be very smart." "It is the most advanced intelligence in the galaxy," Velthara boasted. "It controls not just this ship, but our entire fleet. Every vessel is connected through quantum communication links. The AI can coordinate attacks across multiple star systems simultaneously." Deho tried to look impressed while hiding his excitement. This was exactly the information he needed. If the entire alien fleet was controlled by connected AI systems, then his virus could potentially affect all of them at once. Over the next few hours, his watch worked to map these quantum communication links. Every connection the virus discovered was another pathway into the alien network. By the end of the day, it had found links to dozens of ships in the fleet. But Deho also learned something that made him worried. The aliens were not planning to just conquer Earth. They wanted to use humans as slave labor in their mines and factories. Men, women, and children would be taken from their homes and forced to work until they died. Dae-ho thought about his wife, Dr. Park Soo-jin, who was probably working late in her laboratory on Earth. She was a xenobiologist, studying alien life forms. She had no idea that real aliens were about to invade her planet. He thought about his friends and family, about all the innocent people who would suffer if the aliens succeeded. This made him more determined than ever to stop them. That evening, Zekmol came to check on him again. The young guard seemed troubled about something. "I have been thinking about what you said," Zekmol told him. "About friendship and loyalty. These are not concepts we learn about in Vorthak society." "What do you learn about?" Dae-ho asked. "Strength, conquest, the right of superior beings to rule inferior ones." Zekmol paused. "But you do not seem inferior to me. You think and feel just as we do." Dae-ho saw an opportunity. "Maybe your commanders are wrong about humans," he suggested carefully. "Maybe we're not as primitive as they think." Zekmol looked around nervously. "Such thoughts are forbidden. But, yes, I am beginning to believe they are wrong." This conversation gave Dae-ho another idea. If he could convince more aliens that humans were not primitive enemies, maybe he could create divisions in their forces. Not all of them had to be enemies. But first, he had to finish his main mission. His watch was nearly ready to upload the final component of the virus. Soon, every alien ship in the fleet would be infected with his hidden program, and then the real battle would begin. The virus was finally ready. After 3 days of careful work, Dae-ho's watch had mapped the entire alien computer network and found ways to access every system on the ship. More importantly, it had traced the quantum communication links that connected this ship to the rest of the fleet. During the night shift, when most of the crew was sleeping, the watch began its final upload. The logic virus spread through the alien network like water flowing through pipes. It copied itself into every connected system, hiding among normal programs and data files. The aliens noticed nothing. Their security systems were designed to stop attacks from outside the network, not from programs that were already inside. The virus looked like normal maintenance software, running background checks and system diagnostics. But the virus was doing much more than that. It was recording everything: ship locations, weapon configurations, crew assignments, battle plans. All of this information was being copied and transmitted back to Earth through the quantum beacon in Dae-ho's watch. The next morning brought Dae-ho's most important interrogation yet. Commander Velthara arrived with several other officers, including Kexdran and the fleet's military strategist, a cruel alien named Mordek. "Today we reach your solar system," Velthara announced. "In a few hours, our fleet will begin the destruction of your primitive civilization. But first, you will help us break your people's spirit." She activated a communication device. On the screen, Dae-ho could see his home planet Earth, a beautiful blue and white sphere hanging in the darkness of space. "We will broadcast a message to your planet," Velthara continued. "You will tell your people that resistance is useless. You will order them to surrender immediately." Dae-ho looked at the screen for a long moment. Then he shook his head. "No." "What did you say?" Velthara asked, clearly shocked by his refusal. "I said no! I won't help you conquer my people." Mordek stepped forward angrily. "You will do as ordered, or you will suffer greatly before you die." Dae-ho looked up at the alien commander with steady eyes. "Then I guess I'll suffer. But I won't betray my own species." This was all part of his plan. He needed the aliens to think he was a brave but foolish soldier, making a hopeless gesture. He needed them to focus on trying to break his spirit while his virus continued its work in their computers. The interrogation continued for hours. The aliens threatened him with pain and death, but Dae-ho refused to cooperate. Finally, they gave up and left him alone in his cell. What they did not know was that during those hours of interrogation, his watch had been very busy. The virus had now infected not just this ship, but every vessel in the alien fleet. It had also discovered something very important about alien biology. Vorthak physiology was different from human biology in several key ways. They breathed a different mixture of gases, and their blood chemistry was based on copper instead of iron. This made them stronger and faster than humans, but it also gave them a critical weakness. There was a compound, common in Earth's industrial chemistry, that would not harm humans at all. But if Vorthak breathed even small amounts of it, the chemical would react with their copper-based blood and make them very drowsy and confused. Daeho's watch immediately transmitted this information to Earth, along with detailed specifications for synthesizing the compound. On Earth, Dr. Park Soo-jin received the biological data in her laboratory. As a xenobiologist, she understood its importance immediately. Working with her team of scientists, she began producing large quantities of the chemical compound. At the same time, Admiral Han So-young was coordinating Earth's defense with information from the virus. She now knew the exact location of every alien ship, what weapons they carried, and how they planned to attack. The aliens think they're fighting primitive humans with basic technology, she told her fleet commanders. They have no idea that we know everything about their battle plans. Captain Yoon Hye-jin commanded the largest human battleship, the UES Defiance. She had served in the Navy for 20 years and had never seen anything like the approaching alien fleet. There are over 1,000 enemy ships, she reported, but according to our intelligence, they're all controlled by connected AI systems. If we can disrupt those connections, we can turn their strength into weakness, Admiral Han finished. Prepare the quantum disruption torpedoes and make sure every ship has a supply of Dr. Park's chemical compound. Back on the alien flagship, Daeho was preparing for the next phase of his mission. The virus had given him access to the ship's internal communication systems. He could now send messages to individual crew members without the commanders knowing about it. He started with Zekmol, the young guard who had shown him kindness. Using his watch, he sent a text message to the alien's personal communicator. "The commanders are lying to you," the message said. "Humans are not primitive enemies. We are people just like you, with families and dreams and hopes for the future. The invasion will kill billions of innocent beings." Zekmol read the message with confusion. How was the human prisoner able to send communications? And why was he saying these things? Over the next few hours, Daeho sent similar messages to other crew members. He told them about human culture, about art and music and literature. He showed them images from Earth, children playing in parks, families having dinner together, scientists working to cure diseases. Some aliens ignored these messages, but others began to doubt what their commanders had told them about humans being savage primitives. Meanwhile, the virus was preparing for its most important task. It had now infected the central AI systems that controlled the entire alien fleet. When the time came, it would be ready to shut down their weapons, their shields, and their engines. But Daeho knew the timing had to be perfect. If he acted too soon, the aliens might detect the virus and find ways to stop it. If he waited too long, Earth's defenses might be overwhelmed by the sheer size of the alien fleet. As the hours passed, more alien ships arrived in the solar system. The fleet was massive, bigger than anything humans had ever imagined. Velthara was confident that the battle would be over quickly. "Begin the final approach," she ordered. "All ships, prepare for planetary bombardment." On Earth, final preparations were being made. The planetary shields were raised to maximum power. The defense fleets moved into position. Factories worked around the clock to produce Dr. Park's chemical compound, and in a small cell on an alien ship, Lee Daeho watched the stars through a small porthole and waited for the right moment to spring his trap. The invasion was about to begin. But the aliens had no idea that their prisoner had turned their own technology against them. They thought they were attacking a defenseless planet. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The alien fleet reached Earth's orbital space just as the sun was rising over the Pacific Ocean. Over 1,000 ships filled the sky, their dark hulls blocking out the stars. On the surface below, humans looked up and saw their worst nightmare coming true. Commander Velthara stood on the bridge of her flagship, watching Earth grow larger on the main screen. The planet looked peaceful and defenseless, just as she had expected. "Begin the bombardment," she ordered. "Target their major cities first. We want the humans to see their civilization burning before they surrender." But when the weapons officer tried to fire the main guns, nothing happened. "Commander," the weapons officer reported, sounding confused, "the plasma cannons are not responding." "What do you mean, not responding?" Velthara demanded. "The targeting systems are offline. The power couplings show green status, but the weapons will not fire. Similar reports began coming in from other ships in the fleet. Weapons systems were failing across the entire armada. The aliens could not understand what was happening. In his cell, Deho smiled. The virus had begun its work. Velthara stormed down to the detention level, her face twisted with rage. She found Deho sitting, calmly in his cell, looking completely relaxed. "What have you done?" she demanded. "What do you mean?" Deho asked innocently. "I'm just sitting here in your prison cell. What could I possibly do?" "Our weapons are malfunctioning. This cannot be a coincidence." Deho shrugged. "Maybe your technology isn't as perfect as you thought." Velthara was about to respond when alarms began sounding throughout the ship. On the bridge, chaos was spreading as more and more systems began to fail. "Commander," Kextran called over the communication system, "the quantum displacement drives are shutting down. We're losing power to the main engines." "The shields are fluctuating," another officer reported. "Defensive systems are going offline." Randomly, Velthara looked at Deho with growing suspicion. "This is your doing somehow, but how? You're just a primitive human locked in a cell." Deho stood up slowly and faced her. When he spoke, his voice was completely different from the frightened prisoner he had pretended to be. "You made a lot of mistakes," he said calmly. "Your biggest mistake was thinking that humans are primitive." He held up his wrist, showing her the watch. "This isn't just a timepiece. It's a quantum computer with more processing power than your entire ship's AI system. For the past 4 days, it's been infiltrating your network and learning everything about your technology." Velthara stared at the small device in disbelief. "Impossible! Our sensors would have detected any advanced technology." "Your sensors were looking for the wrong things," Deho explained. "You expected human technology to be big and obvious like your own machines. You never thought we might build something small and elegant." He pressed a button on the watch, and the energy restraints around his hands disappeared. The cell's force field flickered and went out. "You see, I'm not just any soldier," Deho continued as he stepped out of the cell. "I'm a strategic planning officer. My job is to think about how to win battles against superior enemies. And you've been giving me detailed information about your entire fleet for 4 days." On Earth, Captain Yoon Hee-jin watched as the alien ships began to drift helplessly through space. Their weapons were silent, their shields were down, and their engines were failing. "All ships, begin Phase 2, she ordered. Human vessels that had been hiding behind asteroids and moons suddenly appeared. They were much smaller than the alien ships, but they were fast and their weapons were working perfectly. The chemical compound that Dr. Park Soo-jin had developed was loaded into special missiles. These projectiles broke open when they hit alien ships, filling the air inside with a harmless gas that made Vorthak drowsy and confused. Admiral Han So-young watched the battle from Earth's command center. "The virus has disabled their weapons and shields," she reported. "Our ships are delivering the chemical agent now. Alien crews are becoming incapacitated across the fleet." Back on the flagship, Velthara tried to contact other ships in her fleet, but communications were failing too. The virus had infected every system they depended on. "You have destroyed our fleet," she said to Deho, her voice filled with hatred. "No," Deho replied. "I've just leveled the playing field. Your people came here planning to commit genocide. You wanted to kill billions of innocent humans and enslave the survivors. I've stopped you from doing that." Zekmol appeared in the corridor, moving slowly and looking confused. The chemical agent had reached this part of the ship. What is happening?" the young alien asked. "Your commander's war is over," Deho told him gently. "No one else has to die today." Dr. Park Soo-jin, working from her laboratory on Earth, was monitoring the biological effects of her compound through sensors Deho's virus had activated on the alien ships. "The chemical is working perfectly," she reported. "Alien crew members are becoming docile and non-aggressive. There are no harmful side effects. They'll recover completely in a few hours." Lieutenant Park Ji-hoon coordinated the capture of alien vessels from Luna Base. Human boarding parties were moving through the disabled ships, taking control of weapons and engines. "We've secured over 300 enemy vessels," he reported. "The remaining ships are surrendering without resistance." On the alien flagship, Commander Velthara sank to her knees as the chemical agent affected her too. Her anger was fading, replaced by confusion and a strange sense of peace. "How?" she asked weakly. "How did a single human defeat an entire galactic empire?" Daeho knelt beside her. Because you underestimated us. You thought intelligence was about having bigger computers and more advanced weapons, but real intelligence is about understanding your enemy and using their own strengths against them. He helped Zekmol sit down in a nearby chair. The young alien was looking around with wonder, as if seeing the world clearly for the first time. I never understood before, Zekmol said slowly. We were taught that conquest was glorious. But there is no glory in destroying innocent people. No, there isn't, Daeho agreed. But there is honor in protecting them. Across the fleet, similar scenes were playing out. Alien crew members, no longer driven by aggressive instincts, were beginning to question everything they had been taught about humans and conquest. The virus had done more than just disable their technology. By accessing their personal communicators, it had shown them thousands of images and videos of human life. They saw families, schools, hospitals, art galleries, concerts. They saw a civilization that created and built and healed, not just conquered and destroyed. Many aliens were shocked to realize that humans were not primitive savages, but people very much like themselves. The battle for Earth was over. Humanity had won not through superior firepower, but through intelligence, planning, and the courage of one man who refused to give up. But Daeho knew the real work was just beginning. 2 hours after the battle ended, representatives from Earth arrived on the alien flagship. Admiral Han So-young led the delegation, accompanied by Dr. Park Soo-jin and several other scientists and military officers. Daeho met them at the airlock. It had been 4 days since he had seen another human, and he felt a wave of emotion when he saw his wife's face. "Are you hurt?" Dr. Park asked, hugging him tightly. "I'm fine," he assured her. "Better than fine, actually. We've learned more about alien technology in the past 4 days than we could have discovered in decades of research." Admiral Han looked around at the disabled alien ship. Crew members were sitting or lying around in a dazed state. No longer aggressive, but still confused by the chemical compound. "How long will the effects last?" she asked Dr. Park. "About 6 more hours," Dr. Park replied. "Then they'll be back to normal, but without the artificial aggression that their military conditioning created." Commander Velthara was brought to the ship's main conference room, along with other senior officers. They were still affected by the chemical, but able to speak coherently. "We surrender," Velthara said quietly. "Our fleet is disabled. Our crews are incapacitated. We have no choice but to accept whatever terms you offer." "That's not exactly how this is going to work," Admiral Han replied. "We're not interested in conquest or revenge. We want something much more valuable." "What do you want?" Velthara asked. "Information, knowledge, and change." Over the next several hours, human negotiators worked out an agreement with the alien commanders. The Vorthak Empire would share their technology with humanity. In return, humans would help them reform their society and end their aggressive expansion across the galaxy. "Your empire has conquered dozens of worlds," Admiral Han explained, "enslaved entire species, destroyed civilizations that could have contributed wonderful things to the galaxy. That ends now." Daeho's virus had given humans access to the locations of all 12 Vorthak fleets. Messages were already being sent to human allies throughout the galaxy, warning them about incoming alien forces and providing them with the same virus technology that had defeated this fleet. "Within days, every Vorthak fleet will face the same choice you're facing now," Admiral Han continued. "Surrender and reform, or drift helplessly through space." Dr. Choi Min-soo, the AI specialist, was studying the alien computer systems with fascination. "Their technology is incredibly advanced," he reported, "but it's also completely centralized. They never developed robust security protocols because they never imagined anyone could infiltrate their networks." "That was their weakness," Daeho explained. "They became so dependent on their AI systems that they forgot how to think for themselves. When the virus took control of those systems, the entire empire became helpless." General An Dong-hyuk arrived later with a larger diplomatic team. He was impressed by what humanity had accomplished, but concerned about the future. "We've won this battle," he said, "but there might be other threats out there, other alien empires that are hostile to human expansion." "That's why we need allies," Admiral Han replied. The species that the Vorthak enslaved will be grateful for their freedom. If we help them rebuild, they'll stand with us against future threats. Zekmol had recovered enough to speak clearly. He approached Deho with obvious respect. "I want to understand," the young alien said. "How did you remain so calm and confident when you were our prisoner? You were outnumbered by thousands to one." Deho smiled. "Because I knew something you didn't know. I knew that my people would never abandon me, and I knew that humans are at their best when things look hopeless." "I have been thinking about what you showed us," Zekmol continued. "The images of human families and children, of art and music and literature. We have none of these things in our society." "You could have them," Dr. Park suggested. "Art and music aren't about technology. They're about expressing feelings and ideas. Any intelligent species can create them." Over the following days, a remarkable transformation began. As the chemical compound wore off, many alien crew members found that they no longer felt the constant aggression and need for conquest that had driven their society for centuries. Scientists later discovered that this aggression was not natural to the Vorthak. It had been artificially enhanced by drugs in their food supply, designed to make them better soldiers. The chemical compound had neutralized these drugs, allowing the aliens to think clearly for the first time in their lives. "We were slaves," Velthera admitted during one of the negotiations. "We thought we were conquering other species, but really, we were enslaved by our own leaders' ambitions. The process of reforming the Vorthak Empire would take years, but the foundation was laid in those first few days after the battle. Human teachers began working with alien students. Human artists shared their work with Vorthak, who had never seen paintings or heard music. Captain Yoon Hyejin was put in charge of the new Interstellar Defense Force, a combined human and alien fleet designed to protect peaceful worlds from future threats. "We learned an important lesson," she said. "Technology alone doesn't win wars. Intelligence, creativity, and the willingness to sacrifice for others. Those are the real weapons." 6 months later, Deho returned to Earth to teach at the Naval Academy. His first class was a mix of human and alien students, all learning about strategy and tactics. "The most important lesson," he told them, "is to never underestimate your opponents. The Vorthak made that mistake with humans. They thought primitive meant stupid. They were wrong." A young alien student raised her hand. "But you were just one person against an entire fleet. How did you stay hopeful?" Deho looked out the window at the peaceful Earth sky, where human and alien ships now flew together on joint missions. "Because I knew that intelligence and determination can overcome any advantage," he said. "And because I had faith in my species. Humans don't give up, especially when we're protecting the people we love." The story of the human prisoner who defeated a galactic empire became legend. But for Deho, the real victory was simpler. He had helped his people survive, and in doing so, he had opened the door to a future where humans and aliens could work together instead of fighting. The galaxy was a much more peaceful place because one man had refused to accept defeat. Because aliens had thought they had a prisoner, when what they really had was a human with a plan. And that plan had changed everything.